Welcome to Exploring Through Our Lens. I'm Dan Hunt, and this is my incredible wife, Patti Hunt.
We created Exploring Through Our Lens to help people see that there are things to do. Over the last 10 months, I know a lot of people feel like they're stuck at home. There are some things closed, but there are so many things that are open. Over the last 3 weeks, Dan and I have done more, I think, than we've done over the last 3 years.
And that's the point of Exploring Through Our Lens. We go out and we show you some of the things that you can do and how much fun they can be for you and your family, and you can do them safely.
Now, this past week, we explored museums.
Museums, museums, when I think of a museum, I think of a dinosaur or art, but not in Las Vegas.
In Las Vegas, we explored the Discovery Children's Museum, the Mob Museum, the Neon Museum, and
we topped it off with the lion habitat here in Henderson. And I gotta tell you, some of those lions were on display at the MGM, and now this is where they live. So, wow, what fun that was.
Let's get started with the Discovery Children's Museum
right after this message. So we started exploring this week at the Discovery Children's Museum, and man, that place is incredible.
Right. Now, Dan and I have 5 kids between us and 9 grandkids, and they range in age from 13 down to 1.5, so all 9 of them. And I think this museum would be perfect for all of them. Now, because of COVID, we had to do things a little bit differently than how we would normally shoot a segment like this. Everybody was required to wear a mask at all times, and the sound just didn't come out the way we wanted it to. So we kind of shot it in a different format, but we think you'll enjoy it.
The museum as the organization has existed for 30 years. We actually just celebrated our 30th year last year. We have an early childhood department that focuses on teaching our little learners. Once they get past that stage, we also have galleries that are more for older kids. For example, like the Makerspace or the Discovery Lab area is kind of targeted for older kids. We have things for all kinds of kids. We have things for kids who like science, kids who like art, kids who are just curious. This is the place you would want to bring them because they get to play with things in a way they may not be able to at home. So the age range is kind of everybody. We get parents who really like being here as well. But really from we have a room that's specific to toddlers, so if you have 2-year-olds, feel free to bring them, really all the way up to 12 and 13. So we have things like recycled goods that we can try to challenge ourselves to use as art. Or maybe if you are a little more traditional, we do have a watercolor table, which is something that's really fun. And we have an interactive smart board where you can draw on the wall, and that's always a fun, popular exhibit as well. We've actually had moms who are just kind of at their wits' ends because they've tried everything at home and they bring them in and it's kind of like a new eyes. Even though we do use a lot of recycled goods, they don't necessarily have us at home. So we're kind of there to help give a new perspective on things and try to challenge the kids in new ways that they might not be getting every day. Our water world is a very popular gallery, and the exhibits in there are also educational, even though it's a wow factor because you walk in and you see the balls flying, and really that's just water pressure, and we're demonstrating how strong water can be and sending things up. So we do that. In the tower, we have our whirlpool tower that shows us how water can be affected when we do things to it, like with physics. And then our Hoover Dam exhibit is just kind of like a replica model of our Hoover Dam. And they're able to they can create the dam by using Lego parts, and they can build it up and stop the water if they like. And they can create that in a small scale, but it's really what our dam is doing. The Discovery Lab is really just bringing technology to the hands of children. So we have things that I didn't even know were here until I started working here. So we have 3D printers, which is a newish technology. The technology has been around since the 80s, but it hasn't been in educational settings, and I would say until like the last 10 years. And we're fortunate enough to like have this space open up 2 years ago. And in this space, we do hold classes. They are paid classes, but they get to print something. So they get to learn about the design process and how long that takes. And also, what do we do when we're done with our design? How do we get that from our computers onto our printers and off of the internet onto our computers and into the printers? And how long does that all take? This is the final product. This is what it looks like when we're done. But this actually breaks apart. And the pieces inside are movable pieces. There is no mechanism, so it's not like a functioning clock in the way we know it, but it is a teaching clock. So once they're done building it, they're able to move the gears. Over the age of 2 is required to wear a mask, so we're following those guidelines. We also clean every hour, and in between it as well. If we saw that there's like a high touch time, we will go in and clean it with our cleaning solution. We have limited capacity, so for example, in this room, we limit it to 4 students as opposed to the 8 that we're used to.
Museum is one of Dan's favorite museums because when we walk through there, he could see signs from when he was a kid. He's been coming here since he's a small child, so for a while.
Yeah, you know, how many of you have actually been to the Frontier? Or you were at the Frontier right before it closed down, but the Riviera and the Stardust, well, all of those signs are there in that museum, and it just brings back a little bit of my childhood.
So anybody who wants to see what Las Vegas was like back in the day and how they've restored these signs, you want to check out the Neon Museum.
I'll tell you, the stories that they tell are just incredible. Now, we interviewed Dawn Merritt, and I got to tell you, she is so knowledgeable about this museum. And the first question I asked her is, you know, what was the concept of this and when did this all get started?
Well, it actually got its start in the 80s because the Allied Arts Council, which was part of the city of Las Vegas, I believe, had concerned citizens that were worried that we were tearing down all of our history. So they made a real effort to start preserving some of the signs. And the first sign that we actually restored and put out for public display is the Hacienda Horse and Rider, which is on Las Vegas Boulevard. Because it's a slice of history, many people have been here and they remember hearing about some of these places, or they see them in movies. They'll watch the movie Casino and they'll think, wow, that's neat. When you come here, you get the real story behind the signs. You take a step back in history and it gives you a real sense of what Vegas was. Well, much to our surprise, many people haven't been here, so we want them to come. They can come for general admission, which begins at 10 o'clock in the morning and ends at 5. And that way you can walk around and take as many photos as you want with your phone or your tablet. Or if you want to get really into the history of the signs, take a guided tour, which begins at 5 o'clock right now. And small groups that are really spaced out will walk you through the signs and explain to you the story behind them, the businesses they represent, how they're also art, architecture, as well as history. You know, people ask me that a lot, and I always come back to the Stardust sign. I think it's beautiful. We've recently put new bulbs in it. It's not fully restored, but you get a sense of what it looked like when it was actually in use. This came from the Hard Rock Cafe, which is not the hotel. So they decided to close the cafe and we were able to get the sign. Yesco took it apart into 6 pieces, I believe. They took it to their warehouse and we had a fundraising campaign to restore it. We got it restored. They hauled it here in pieces, stacked it all back up together again, and now it is 82 feet tall. And it's one of our favorites because it's beautiful. A boneyard is the term that sign companies use because What many people don't know is that many of the companies in town leased their signs. They didn't own them. So if they changed their merchandising, the sign company would come and take the sign and put it in what they called a boneyard. Then they could pick those bones and make new signs later on for other companies. It's called our North Gallery, and that's where we host a show that's called Brilliant, where we project light onto the signs. They look like they're restored, but nothing over there is restored at all, and it's also set to music. This area right here is our main boneyard, and this is where we have guided tours as well as general admission. We are limited in the number of people that can come in, which is fine because it's an outdoor facility. People feel fairly comfortable because they can move away from someone if they're not comfortable being close to them. We also clean all the surfaces, we take your temperature when you arrive, and we require that you wear a mask the entire time that you're here so that we follow the governor's mandates. You get a discount on guided tours, you get a discount on general admission. We offer discounts whenever we have special programming. So we love our locals and we want them to come and see us.
Chili Jilly's, the happiest place in Boulder City. All food is fresh, made to order, and of course, delicious. From our signature roasted chicken to mouth-watering pastries, it's all so good. And enjoy casual, comfortable, and authentic weekend breakfast on our patio. Don't forget our famous Dole Whip, a cool, refreshing Chili Jilly's exclusive. Come on, show us that Dole Whip smile. The happiest place in Boulder City, Chili Jilly's. Curbside pickup, drive-through, phone in, order online at chilijillies.com.
Our next stop was the Mob Museum, and boy, that was something I just didn't expect it at all.
There was something new at every turn. 3 floors of all different kinds of exhibits.
You know, they actually showed us how in the old days the mob was skimming money off the top at the casinos.
That was pretty cool. And we saw, one of my favorite things that we saw was the secret door in the Speakeasy.
Yep.
So if you walk into the Speakeasy, you would not know it's there.
Now they have this Speakeasy that they kind of replicated back to those times, and they have their own distillery there. They actually brew or distill grain alcohol, and the guy actually took me back there and showed me how it's done and everything. Wow. You know what? We can't say much more about it other than, you know, this segment, you know, put your seatbelt on and sit down because you want to watch this segment.
So the Mob Museum opened in 2012, but of course it was a longer period of development. And one of our earliest champions was former Las Vegas Mayor Oscar Goodman. And he really had the idea to have a museum dedicated to organized crime here in the city. But if you're going to tell the organized crime story, you really do need to also tell the law enforcement story. This building that the Mob Museum is located in is the original federal courthouse and post office for the city of Las Vegas. It opened in 1933, and in 1950, the building really made history when we were the Las Vegas location for the U.S. Senate Kefauver Committee hearings, which were used to investigate the impact of organized crime on interstate commerce. The gas chamber chair that we have from the Nevada prison system is definitely something that surprises people. It's not one of our artifacts that we use in a ton of our promotional materials, so I think it is something that's very surprising. And that whole room is really about the deadly side of organized crime. I mean, we can talk about the millions, billions of dollars that organized crime creates, but when you get right down to it, a lot of mobsters have a pretty grisly fate, and whether that's at the hand of hitmen or at the hand of legal action, I think that's an important part of the story. We are very lucky that we have the majority of the bricks from the wall against which the St. Valentine's Day Massacre occurred on February 14th, 1929. And those bricks were in place in our exhibit when the museum opened in 2012. right on our opening day, February 14th, 2012. It's no coincidence. The idea of our skim room is really to represent what it was that kept mobsters here in Las Vegas, and that was the skim. There's this story that essentially the mob came to Las Vegas to go straight, that these were men who'd made millions, billions of dollars during Prohibition, running illegal gambling rackets, rum running, bootlegging, running illegal nightclubs and brothels, and that they came here because many of those things were legal in Nevada when they still were not legal in the rest of the United States, and that this was sort of their opportunity to go straight. The reality is a little more complicated than that. The vast majority of our early mob-connected casinos were really just fronts for skimming operations. They were skimming money off of the top so that they would not have to pay full taxes on their business assets. And these casinos also sort of operated as a part of a larger money laundering operation. Casinos are great for money laundering. Prohibition was the best thing that ever happened to organized crime. And when we opened the museum in 2012, we had our wonderful exhibit upstairs, but we really weren't able to tell the more social, cultural history of the Prohibition era. You know, the reality is when you're upstairs and you're learning about the massacre and Al Capone and rum runners and bootleggers, it's a little sobering. It's kind of tough to then switch gears and say, let's talk about jazz music and the Harlem Renaissance and moonshine. We distill our very own moonshine here on site. So in our next room over, we have a fully operational copper still, a pot still, and we make traditional 100% corn moonshine. It's 100 proof. It's strong, but it's surprisingly smooth for moonshine. And then we also make a handful of infusions. Right now we have our Jamaica ginger infusion as well as our Sin City infusion. We offer a local discount every day, and I recommend that people go to our website, themobmuseum.org, to see exactly what the best offer that we have going on, because we do have different rotating specials, but we do have a local ticket price. And then we also have 2 free days each year. Our first is February 14th, which coincides with our anniversary as well as remembering and memorializing the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. The second free day is November 15th, which commemorates the day in which the Kefauver Committee hearing came to the city.
We're here at the Lion Habitat Ranch, and this place is amazing. It is so large, has so many lions and other animals here. It's so exciting to be here. Here's Bentley, who's made an appearance for us.
Hey, Bentley. So this is something that you can do. They're completely COVID safe. You must wear a mask everywhere that you go here. And I gotta tell you, seeing the lions and the giraffe and all the birds, it is just really something special, and you can do it. So you kind of want to, you know, get out and do things. This is a great place to do something.
Yes, and the weather is just perfect for it. The animals are out and active most of the time. Definitely a place that you want to come.
Well, for right now, we're going to go explore through the lion habitat and, you know, maybe play with Bentley a little bit here.
I don't think so.
Over here, we have the lion enclosures, and then we have what we call our lockout. So this is actually a positive area. It's not a negative area. A lot of people see it and they're like, oh, that's a punishment area. It's not a punishment area. It's very positive. Some cats actually don't like leaving the lockout because that's where they get breakfast. So I have to lock them out. You have to come on over here.
Oh, wow.
So the cats will eat for the females anywhere between 5 and 7.5 pounds a day, and the males will eat anywhere between 10 and 15 pounds a day. Dude, do you want to come over?
She said I want more.
Come on. And she's actually had most of her diet. She'll get the remaining 2.5 pounds while we're open to the public. You can do it. Ready? Come on over. And Jude's actually our largest male at about 600 pounds. You ready, set, and go! And he may bark at you because he's not going to share his food with you.
It's all yours.
All right. So this is Chili and Pepper. This one right here is Chili. And these are our oldest cats on display, and she may bark at the camera because she's going to think the camera's stealing her food. And these guys are actually 16 years old. Our oldest males on property. So they're actually going to be turning 16 years old in March. So these guys are older gentlemen. Do you want to come over too, or is it just your brother? And these guys are really tall, and they just have a little bit of a shorter mane. And these guys are younger, so they're going to be turning 8 this year. So we'll have our older lion, or younger lions usually kind of stand up so you can show off how tall they are. But some of our older lions, we take their age into consideration on what we ask them to do. So we don't want anything that could possibly exacerbate any of their joints or anything. So Millie actually used to be one of our most terrified macaws. She came from the Las Vegas. You can show me Pretty Wings? And she used to run in and out of her box. And she used to be really, really scared of the keepers. And she's come such a long way. She will solicit attention from her keepers now. And she knows how to show her pretty wings. Here's her mom. Hi, Chum-Lee. So this is Chum-Lee. You have Elsa on the platform. You have Scarlet under that little platform right there.
Yeah.
Mom's right over there. And then Brody's over there. So this is Ringo, our blue and gold macaw. He's a little younger. He's a little over 2 years old. He was a pet surrender. A lot of guys get these guys as pets. They live a really long time, up to 60 years. And then also they act like toddlers most of their lives.
Yes.
So sometimes they'll get wheeled down, like we have Popeye in there. He's around 30. His owner went into hospice care, and he didn't like the family.
Oh, no.
No. Sorry, Ringo's a very animated bird. Our veterinarian even said it's the most animated bird he has seen. And he's a younger bird, and he can show off his pretty wings. And he's becoming a great ambassador bird. So this is Belladonna. And she is going to be 14 in March. Yeah, show him. Oh, good girl. And she actually is a lot like her namesake. She actually does enjoy lots of cuddles. Girl, you want to come down? She's like, no, I also really like food too. Good girl, Mama. And she's actually our most playful cat out of all the cats on property. Whenever you give her enrichment or she gets her shank bones, she almost does parkour off of the fence like a snow leopard to go get her treats and her enrichment. So we've actually been a nonprofit since 2012, and so any of the admissions, any purchases, anything like that, donations are great. Amazon Smile. All of that is how we actually have funding. So anything that we get into the facility goes back into the facility. Snack, and now he's going to say hi to his brother George. He may lay down with his brother, or he may go get a drink of water, or may go lay down somewhere else. Lions are lazy, so they get up for a little bit of time and then they go back to laying down. Some of our female lionesses will also stalk small children. So. Right? You're such a handsome cat. And this is actually Belladonna's brother.
It's just amazing the things that you can see and do right here in Las Vegas.
In the desert. So
Right in the middle of the desert.
It is amazing. Here's Ozzy. He's become a very good friend of ours.
Hey,
He does not want us to walk away. These animals are so well cared for. There's so many of them. It was just amazing today. Just amazing.
And you know, this is something that A, if you're a local, you can come out and you get a discount to come in, and B, it's just a great day for the kids, for the family, for the adults. It doesn't matter who you are. Walking around here and looking at these lions, and you almost feel like you get to know them.
Yes, they have such personalities. Each one really has a personality to them.
And I think that the biggest personality in the whole place is this guy right here, Ozzy, right behind me. He really just shows off for you and everything. So you are the star of the TV show, buddy. Okay? You are the star.
Keep on.
Oh, yeah. Wow, what an incredible week.
It was jam-packed with so much to do, so many cool things that we saw. I just am still amazed by it all.
Yeah, and on top of that, we didn't hit all of the museums in this town. You know, there is the Pinball Museum and Wayne Newton and Liberace and
The Monster Museum.
Monster Museum.
There is a museum in this town, I think, for everything.
And I got to tell you, most all of them have discounts for locals. You can get out and do these kind of things. Just, you know, look at the stuff that we've done here and try to go out and visit those places if you haven't been there. Just really incredible.
Now, we have our next show coming up, which is some really cool, sometimes really cold things that we did.
So cold is the key word right
Yes.
there. All right, so that's just a little teaser as to show 3 of our limited 4-series show on the CW. But on top of that, we are just 2 weeks away. 2 weeks away from leaving our home here in Las Vegas, getting in an RV, and just traveling everywhere and exploring everywhere, and hopefully bringing that to you as well.
Now, if you want to join us on this journey and come exploring with us, go to our YouTube channel and subscribe, and certainly hit the bell so you'll get notified with the next things that we are up to.
So, until next week, I'm Dan Hunt, and this is my incredible wife, Patti Hunt, saying have a great rest of today.
And an even better day tomorrow.